This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for being here. This show is created to discuss life topics to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Today, I have Julie Chan here, and she's from the Julie Chan Show. So if you don't know, now you know. So, where she highlights these stories that invoke action, she showcases passions that compel others to connect with their own emotions and placing talents on display for the world to see them as they are deserved to be seen. She believes that every story matters and every individual has something wonderful to share with the world. And I am excited to have Julie here with us today. I have been following you, Julie, on Instagram and everything. I love your energy. I love what you post. I love you. I love you. So I'm glad you're here. And so why don't we just start off by letting our audience know who you are?
Thank you so much, Neena. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am born and raised in Southern California. I watched TV growing up thinking, how do I get on the other side of that TV? How do I report the news? How do I get to be Joan London on Good Morning America? How do I get to be Kathy Lee Gifford on Regis and Kathy Lee? And, things went on. And now it's, how do I become Asian Oprah? So the Julie Chan Show has been something that I have dreamt of for many, many years. And it is where passion meets purpose. And I am all about sharing those stories of people who are doing things in their everyday life with their passion, creating their real purpose, creating opportunities for other people, whether it's through their services or their products or their books, whatever it is. I did start out working in journalism. I first actually worked for House Beautiful magazine in New York, where I did advertising sales. And then I went on and I actually hosted an all-night royal wedding viewing party when Prince William married Kate Middleton. And ABC and KTLA and a lot of local TV stations came and televised my party all night and took live shots. And my cousin said, Julie, you have to go into TV. This is your dream. And I said, yeah, but now I'm like a middle-aged woman. I have 3 young children. I live in suburbia. How am I going to pursue this journalism career? Most people are straight out of college. They moved to middle America to do, these jobs, to hold the camera and speak in front of it and hopefully not die in the process. And so how was I going to do all that with 3 young kids? Well, lo and behold, where your passion is, you will find a way. And I wanted to be a morning anchor, and I could not go and, hold the camera equipment and do all that and start from the bottom up. And so I went and worked for a local city cable station, and I just worked and worked and worked. I did do all of that there. I held the camera. I reported. I had opportunities where I got to fill in anchor, and then I hosted and produced my own show. And it just was so invigorating. I loved it. And I just kept working. And after I put my 3 daughters to bed at 9 or 10 p.m. every night, and they were really young, I would then all night be reaching out to news directors by email, getting their contact information and sending my reel to them. And lo and behold, I actually got 4 morning news anchor jobs and ended up taking one where I lived in Los Angeles with my family, and the job was in Oregon, and I commuted back and forth every week. And I came home every weekend to be with my kids. I hired an au pair at home. It was an insane life, but I was there in Oregon texting people to plan play dates for my kids, making sure my kids got to their dance lessons and their softball lessons and everything from there. And then I came back, and I had been following, lots of TV people who I admire and whose shows I will be on one day. And one of them was Michael Gelman, the executive producer of Live with Kelly and Ryan Seacrest. And his wife, Lori Gelman, wrote the book Class Mom, all about the PTA people, PTA moms who volunteer and give so much of their time. And I was going to miss her book launch by a day in New York. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, if you're ever in Los Angeles, I would love to host you for a book event. And sure enough, she was coming to be on CBS, The Talk with Julie Chen. And her publicist reached out to me and said, Lori's going to be in town and would love to come to your home to do a party
Wow.
and be interviewed by you and sell her book. And so I hosted a party. She was the first person I did this for. About 40 women came. I interviewed her. We had the local bookshop sell her book. The
Fantastic.
publicist reached out and said it was a great event. Lori loved the event, and we'd like to send you more book authors. From there, they sent me Julie Morgenstern, who's written about 6 books now, New York Times bestsellers, all about organization. She goes into organized companies, etc. And then I had Dr. Harvell Hendricks and his wife, and they wrote the book, Getting the Love You Want. They've sold
Oh,
over
yeah.
40 million copies
Mhm.
of the book. And so they were here, and these authors have loved my audiences. It's a warm audience who are all inspired and ready to buy the books. And the last author I hosted before COVID happened was Andrew Morton, the royal biographer. We had scheduled months in advance, but I just got so lucky with timing. He
Yeah.
came the week after Prince Harry and Meghan announced that they were leaving England, and they had moved to Canada. And so everyone, was curious and wanted to know the inside scoop on that. So Andrew Morton came to my house, and there were over 120 people here. We had to have overflow in my backyard with a live feed, and it was all very, very exciting. And then COVID happened. And so I took my author interviews to Instagram, and it really opened up so much for me because I got to interview authors around the world. I've interviewed authors in New Zealand, Australia, England, and it's just been a fascinating, exciting experience to meet so many authors and to also see what an incredible community the author world is. I love seeing how they uplift each other, and they're so supportive of each other's debut book launches, whatever it is. And the competition feels so minimal to none.
Yeah.
And it's a true family. And I've never seen that in any other workspace. So it's just been an exhilarating ride for me. And just a month ago, I started the Julie Chan Show, where passion meets purpose.
Oh, it's just a month ago. Okay.
Yes,
That's awesome.
to go beyond authors and to really, be able to interview people of all walks of life. And it's so much fun. I mean, just last week, I interviewed a woman who went from being a tax attorney to realizing that her calling was to be an intuitive matchmaker, to intuitively guide people either to the match of their life or the match, and that could be in a relationship or that could be a match in their work, whatever it is. And it's fascinating the way she helps open people up. I also had Andrew Morton on a show where it was the day before Prince William and Kate Middleton's 10th anniversary, which, as you know, they are very close to my heart. And one day Kate and I will be having tea together. I can't wait for that day.
That's right.
Oh, yes, all of these exciting things. And, just doing interviews like you do is so much fun for me. It's really about giving everyone in this world the opportunity to share who they are and what they're doing to light themselves up, right?
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? There's just such a deep connection that happens when you're interviewing someone because you really are truly interested in them, and they do get to speak their voice. And that's why I love what you do. I went onto your Instagram page and I'm like, oh my gosh, she does such great work. Like you talk to such great people. Do you like to talk to all kinds of people from all areas of life, or do you try to stay in like one genre, or does it matter to you? How do you like to focus your show?
So for book authors, so I do author interviews every Thursday, one every hour from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and on the hour. And there are authors of all genres. So,
Okay.
and they could be self-published, they could be New York Times bestsellers. I really like to keep it open because, again, I am a
Yeah.
person who believes every single person has a story, and I don't want to limit myself or anybody else. I mean, everyone, has a connection to be made and a story to tell. And if they have taken the time to write a book, I am completely inspired by that. Whether
Right.
they are self-published or have millions of followers, they have worked tirelessly and with a great deal of passion. And so I love every story. And as far as my show, the Julie Chan Show, that is the opportunity to just interview people of all walks of life. So on
Oh,
my
okay.
first show, I had a few book authors, had a 99-year-old book author, Martha Tolles,
Wow.
who wrote her first adult novel and had it published at 97 years old. I mean,
Wow.
what more inspiration does anybody need but to never consider themselves as aging out, right? You can do
Right.
anything at any time in your life.
Well, I mean, you
So
proved that too. I mean, you proved that too, right? You said that you were, with three girls at home and you were, living at home and you're like, what, how do I become an anchor? And you did that yourself, right? So I think that you knowing that you can do that just kind of gives you even more passion to just go out there and find out who else is doing this, right?
absolutely, yes. Exactly. And so because I saw myself as limitless, I would
Mm,
never want to limit anybody else, because that's limiting, why do we want to limit ourselves or anybody else? We just don't need to do that.
right.
Going back to, what you said regarding the fact that, yes, I had children and, I was competing with a bunch of 20, 25-year olds for these jobs in broadcast journalism, you know, of course, there was that guilt of, I'm leaving these children at home and, and I'm not there for them consistently. And I had been a stay-home mom. And so, there's great value in that. Some of my friends question that as well. Like, how could you do this? How could you do this to your
Right. Of course.
children? And I have to share that very recently, my oldest daughter was writing an application for a student council position she wanted. And she had to write about why she wanted to do it and who her role model was. And, she's a teenager, literally
Right.
16 years old, right? And so more times than not, I am like the scapegoat. I am the person that she wants nothing to do with. I cannot
Right.
be more awful, controlling, evil, whatever it is.
Right.
But she said to me, I'm filling out this application and I'd like to read it to you. And I was like, okay. And then it was, and I put you down as my role model. But I mean, I really just couldn't think of anybody else. And I'm like, of course, I totally get it.
It's so
But
funny.
the bottom line of that was when she was reading it, what I heard from that is her saying that she wanted to do this because she understood the power of connection. She realized that coming to this new school a few years ago, it was the people who went outside of their comfort zone and took the time to connect with her that made the school feel warmer and smaller and more inviting and friendly. And she wanted to be that person for other new students in the future.
Oh, that's awesome.
She said that she also learned that the way she has seen me be as an example is that she has seen me make every effort to connect with people in every area of my life and to follow your dreams and to believe in yourself against all odds. And that she saw my passion
Wow.
for doing TV. And even though I had three young kids and I was leaving them to go do this work, and she admitted that it was hard. And there were a lot of times when they missed me and wondered how they would survive each week without me. She said that watching me do that made her realize that you should always follow your dreams and that anything is possible, and that the girls
Wow.
did survive that and that they learned a lot from that. And then ultimately, I ran last fall for a seat on the school board. And she said, my mom isn't very political, but when she has a passion for something and she wants the truth to be told and honesty to be upheld, she went wholeheartedly into a position on the school board to make sure, the truth was seen and upheld. And she said that what she saw in my election was that different from the others that were campaigning, she saw that it was my connectedness and that it was my
Oh,
years of building real relationships that, she and her sisters were worried that I wouldn't win because I wasn't campaigning in the traditional ways like everybody else. But she said that in the end, she saw that it was the power of my connections and true relationships that brought me to the seat. So that was
oh, you won. There
really
you go.
touching.
Isn't that amazing though? Like, they do hear what we say, but they really watch what we do, our children. And they watch everything, and even if they're like pissed off and upset, and I have kids too, so I get it.
Yeah,
They're adult children, but it's like I remember like just bumping heads with them and stuff. But now, they go, "Mom, you're probably one of the strongest women I know," or I would never call anybody but you, Mom. And I'm like, wow, we fought so much, but I'm so glad you feel that way.
yes, I know. It is the hugest compliment, right? And
Really
you have
is.
like no idea because you hear so much of the negativity. And we have, as moms, it's so easy to have so much guilt, right? Like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, I'm doing
Yes.
it wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm ruining them. Oh my gosh, they're going
Yeah.
to have so much baggage, like
Yeah.
all of that.
Mom guilt is a real thing, right? It's a real thing, especially, you're an entrepreneur. So you're doing this and you're trying to make this happen. Mom guilt can come in spades. And then, especially when you have people that say, how can you do that? How can you work? How could you do that? And it's like, you have to have that tenacity that you have, Julie, to say, this is what I really want. And I'm going to go for this. And I'm going to show my kids that I'm going to go for this, right? Because if we listen to all the noise and all the negative talk, it really does stifle you. And so I'm really proud of you for doing that, because that's a really difficult thing to do, to push through. Even when I went back to college, I went back as an adult. I went back to college to get my education, and my kids were like, younger. And I was like, I feel really bad about this. And I had people try to make me feel bad about that,
Of course. Yes.
And now that I'm at the top of my game in my career and stuff like that, my kids are like, dang, Mom, you're killing it. But I wouldn't have been able to if I would have listened to all that negativity, right? So
Right.
it's really it's commendable, Julie. That's awesome. I'm really proud of you for that, man.
Thank
That's
you. Well,
great.
and I'm so proud of you too, because you
Thanks.
totally get it. Yes, there are the outside voices and there are also the inside voices, right? Like
Yes.
like our own voice tells us like you can't do that. But then there's
Right.
the other side that's like, no, but you can, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
the dream came from somewhere and the
Right.
tenacity and the belief came from somewhere. But
Right.
sometimes the doubt and the guilt can just feel so overpowering.
Right. And what you do, right, is what I like about your story too, is that this is something that was already not kind of, it was in you already when you were younger, right? Looking at the TV and saying, how do I do that? Not
From
actually even watching the content as much as you're watching the position,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
didn't hear any of the content, but I was like, I want to do that. How did
Right.
you do that? How do I get on the other side of the TV? I mean, I remember being so young, like looking at the back of the TV, like, how did
Hmm.
she get in there?
Right. Right.
Having
Right.
no clue.
How cool is it though, right? Because that says a lot, right? That speaks a lot. I think that we have a lot of dreams and things like that when we're younger, that we let life stifle and kill us, and like kill it out of us.
Yeah,
And because we get beat up a lot in life, right? And there's a lot of things that come against you. But you took that, even like that passion as a child, and somehow worked it in to still be able to accomplish that. And even though you left anchoring, you're still doing that anyway. You're still in front of a camera now, and now doing it with more passion and things that you really want to do, which is interview these people, right? And
yes.
I know that you also have like other things that you do as well. It's not even just that, right? I was on your site. Great site, by the way. Very well done.
You, thank
Very well
you.
done. And I was on there and I realized that, you do other things. Like I saw you have an author virtual coaching, you do tour packaging and all of that. So I wanted to get into that a little bit, because there's a lot of authors out there, and there's a lot of great authors out there. And there's a lot of great authors that are self-published, like you said earlier, even like self-published people that, just like, even I'm self-published, but that's because I wanted to own my book. I wanted to own it, and I wanted it to be my voice, and I wanted it to be in my way, so I get the self-publishing thing. So you had a guest recently too, and I'm going to have her soon on my show, and she's the one with swagger. with the
Swagger.
book.
Yes.
Yes.
Leslie M.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, Leslie, that's
Yeah.
right. And she's going to be on my show soon. So I cannot wait to speak with her.
Oh,
So
she's
I wanted to,
amazing.
yeah, she's fun. She
Oh,
seems
she's
like a
good.
lot of fun.
Her book is also excellent. Like I love when those kind of like self-help books like have, bolded lines. And she
Mhm.
has so many great bolded lines, that just
Oh,
hit to the
good.
heart of things that you and I also feel strongly about
Mhm.
passion and authenticity and the
Mhm.
power of connection. I mean, she talks about all of that. And she is a coach and trainer, really incredible.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get that book and I can't wait to talk to her. And I saw her because I was watching your show because you're on YouTube as well, right? So you're on YouTube. Do you have a podcast as well or no?
So I don't have a podcast. People have mentioned to me many, many times to do a
Mhm.
podcast. And it's not, I was going to say it's something I think about, but actually I really don't think about it. So
No,
I will be
that's good.
honest. I don't, you want no sugar coated? Okay. So I am no sugar coated. And I know like podcasts are a huge thing. Billions of people are on them. And I don't listen to podcasts. I'm
Right.
a very, very visual person.
Visual.
Like
Yeah.
to me, it is so much fun to be doing this by Zoom with you and to see
Right.
you and to feel you and to know you. And I remember years ago, I tried to blog, and one of my best friends from high school
I tried
was
that too.
like, don't bother. She's like, this sucks and it's boring to read, and you are
Oh, that is
better in front of a
so
camera. I think that's how I would be on a podcast as well. Like
funny.
radio podcast. I don't know. That just doesn't sound interesting to me. I don't even
Right.
think I would show up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's so funny. I tried the blogging thing too when it was like the thing to do. I'm like, I'm gonna blog. I did like I don't even know how many blogs. I'm like, oh, I don't like this.
It was so boring for me. I mean, this talking to you is just like, it lights up my heart. It is so
Right.
fun for me. And just to get to know you, I love that. And if I just was hearing your voice and not seeing you, I would probably be asleep.
Right. Right.
But I will
I love it.
also
I
say that
love
was a bit of an issue I had with the teleprompter. When I
it.
had the news job,
Mhm.
as much as I wanted that, honestly, I was kind of falling asleep reading the teleprompter.
Right.
It
Right.
was, uh, yeah. And so then I started
Yeah.
to do my own 1 hour show, and I produced it and I put news in. But let me tell you, I tried to put as many interviews in and as little news as possible, just because I didn't want to be reading the teleprompter. I wanted to be connecting with people and their
Right.
story and drawing it out of them and really giving them the platform to share
Right.
themselves and whatever it was, whether it was their nonprofit charity work and their, fundraiser coming up that they wanted to share with the world, or the book author who had a book to sell, or the where I was in Oregon, the local farmers market was a huge thing. And so I built a relationship with the farmers market and I brought in every single vendor, and I loved hearing these stories. I mean, like, the finance guy who was a total guru in New York City, who left all that to come to Oregon to, have a farm and sell
Awesome.
his produce. I mean, and just to feel so passionate about that was awesome to me.
Right. Right. But I
So
mean, I think that's a great format though, Julie, right? When you can just speak to people just because you're speaking to people, like you're developing a relationship and a friendship with them, as opposed to reading, bullet points. I
yes,
felt the same way. Like when I first started interviewing in the beginning, I was like reading and I'm like, oh, this is so not me. I can't do this. And so then I just kind of threw that out and I just literally just have your name and maybe like 2 points and that's it. I
right.
just want to get to know you and who you are and what you do. And I want it to be as natural as possible. I think it helps that you and I seem to be very extroverted. So
Yes.
I think that that is helpful, right? When you're doing this kind of thing.
But I will tell
Podcast.
you, oh, sorry. But
No,
I
no,
will
good.
say that I was not always extroverted. I was so shy when I was young. Were you shy?
I wasn't really shy. I think I was always pretty extroverted. Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say I was introverted, but I was extremely shy. I mean, even at a family party, if my mother had to go to the bathroom, I would like scurry into the bathroom with her. I was not going to be left alone with all these people who were my relatives, by the way. Like I just did not have a voice at all. But the funny thing is, I remember this so vividly. I would look in the mirror and I would talk to myself. So like I would be at school, I would go to school or I would go to an event and I would come home and I would look in the mirror and I would say all the things that I wished I could have said when I was at school
Oh.
or at the party or in public that I couldn't say. It was the weirdest thing.
No, I get that though. I do get
And
that.
so, and
Yeah.
so
It
I
was a
will
release. It was like a release for you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think, that is where this deep passion comes for being on the school board, because for the last 5 years, I have really stood up for what I believed in. And so
Mm,
many people have texted and emailed and called me and thanked me. And I will say, well, why don't you join me? And why don't you also, if you feel this way, people have to know. And it's generally no, I'm too, like, I can't do that.
mhm,
I can't use my voice in that way. And I think it comes from a place of fear, and it
mhm.
comes from this worry that their kid will be outed in some way by a teacher or the administration or something. And I just, I really urge people in general that if you don't advocate, especially for your own child and
Yeah,
for education and for whatever it is in life, who will? And
right.
we cannot live in fear. It is absolutely necessary to speak what's in our hearts and what we believe and what we see
That's right.
as truth and honesty and integrity, because if we don't, then who is?
Right. Who is the louder voices that are speaking things that are against what you're believing and
Yes,
thinking, right?
yes,
Because their voices get louder because yours got quieter.
right.
So I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. I wanted to touch on other things that you're doing because yeah, I know that you're highlighting authors and everything, but you're also coaching and you're doing like these tour events and all that. So I'd like to talk to you about that because I think that this is going to be really impactful and it's going to touch a lot of my audience, especially those who are, authors and really want to, kind of get out there and they don't know how, right? So let's talk about this author virtual coaching. What is that about?
I love that you asked. So, because I've interviewed so many authors, and I've really learned that an author who might be a debut author, self published, not known, I will get texts, emails, calls after that interview from people who know me and who will reach out, who will say, "Oh my gosh, tell me the name of that author again. What was that
Mm,
book? I absolutely am buying that." And sometimes, a New York Times bestseller or somebody well known, I won't hear anything. And, that's not necessarily to say anything, but I have found that the more authentic and the deeper somebody
yeah,
can go
yeah,
as far as their personal story and their journey really makes a difference. When somebody can be, as you say, no sugar added, and they can really let themselves be known and be vulnerable and share about their childhood experience, or, what was great that brought them to write a book, or what was really difficult that brought them to write a book. Whatever
right.
it is, it's in their sincerity and in their heart that people connect with
That's
and
right.
want to write their book or want to read their book and want to support them in their journey because they feel so connected. And
Mhm.
so my virtual coaching is really about coaching people in getting to their genuine selves,
That's
in
good.
really having the ability to share who they are from their raw place, and not to
Mm,
sugarcoat and not to feel like, they have to. You'll hear this from Leslie M. when you talk to her about swagger. She talks about that idea of fake it till you make it, and that so many people say that, and so many people have told me that over the years. And I can't buy into that, because then how do you get support, and how do you
Oh, that's good.
really get
That's good.
people to understand you and to want to like lift you and raise you and be
Hmm.
on that journey with you? If you're faking it, then who really are you?
So good.
Yeah,
So good.
so
I
that's
used to say that all the time. And you're right. I stopped saying that a few years ago because I'm like, what does that even mean? And why am I saying that? I'm just following a mantra that I don't even believe in. That's
right.
good. Very
Right,
good.
because none of us want to be fake, and none of us want to be talking to anybody who's fake.
Right.
Yeah,
So good. So
we
good.
definitely don't want that at all.
Right.
There's enough fake, right? There's fake
Yeah.
news, there are fake people, there are
Yeah. So
fake
true.
everything. They're right there at our
Right.
fingertips. So we've got to reverse that. And we definitely want to reverse that for our
Yeah.
children, right?
Yeah.
As you said earlier, like children are watching our actions.
Yes,
And
they
if
are.
we are fake, they learn that that is how they are supposed to be to show
That's
up in
so
the world.
true. That's so
So my
true.
coaching is largely about that. And then about the tours,
Hmm.
I have spoken to so many fascinating authors who will, recently there was one woman who, it's historical fiction, and it's about Italy back a long time ago, but she talks about places in Rome and Florence that are still there, and sites and the food. And so to take a tour with an author
Oh,
through
wow.
their book with their readers would be so incredible. And I've talked to several authors about this. I actually have been in talks with Andrew Morton about this. We are planning for next December when Princess Diana, there is a Broadway show on Princess Diana and her true story. And it was based on his book, of
Mm.
her, true story and what she went through. And so a Broadway play has been made about that. And it came out just before COVID hit and then was shut down. So it's reopening in December. And so he and I are in talks about, potentially taking a group of his avid readers to see the Broadway
Oh,
show,
wow.
to meet the cast, to then stay at the Waldorf Astoria, where Princess Diana loved staying, to go have lunch there and eat the salad that she
Oh,
loves so
that's
much,
amazing.
and to be able to
Yeah.
have lunch with Andrew Morton and talk about his journey of writing her story and how he got connected to her and all of that. And then,
That's
we're also
exciting.
talking about a potential trip to England and to see the sites
Wow.
and places that he talks about in all of his books, and the royal family, and potentially tea with Kate Middleton. But,
This is
but yeah,
exciting stuff. That's a cool concept. That's
yes,
a
yes.
really, really great concept, right? I mean, then you'll be in Italy, you'll be in Israel, you'll be everywhere. That's amazing.
Exactly. And readers will get to go on this journey and connect
Yeah.
with the author and have these opportunities and experiences, not only with the author, but where the author has been, and to be so touched by the
Right.
author who loves these places, right? And the
Right.
significance to them. So I just think that it really takes traveling to the next level and makes it so much more personalized.
Yeah. And something it's an experience, right? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
traveling, but it's a total experience and you'll never forget an experience. I mean, you might just have a
Exactly.
book and a book is just an object, but the experience with it, you'll never part that book. You'll never leave that
Right,
book.
right.
That's
And it's about the
amazing.
connection. I mean, my
Yeah.
whole thing about interviewing authors, it started as Beyond the Book with Julie, because it wasn't about the pages within the book, and it wasn't about the story of the book, but my belief and what I have seen over the years of bringing authors into my home and bringing readers into my home. Many of the people who come to my author events are not actually avid readers. They are people who are mothers and, business women, and
Mhm.
truly don't even have that much time to read books, but they buy these books because they want to support the author and because they've connected to the author's personal journey,
Right.
and they have been inspired inspired by what the author has to say, whether it's finding the time to write the book or, raising kids or, realizing that they didn't love this job that they had been in for many years, but the act of writing was so much more, important and inspirational for them, whatever that is. And so really, everything I do is about the power of connection.
That's so
And
good.
as my daughter said, relationships are everything in life. And
Right.
that is the most important thing that I get out there to everyone of every age.
That's so fantastic. And I know that you mentioned it a couple of times. You did the live events. Those are, I'm assuming, put on hold for a while, right? Are you going to put those on the burner for a little bit?
Well, they have been. I am working to get them back up, but it is a process, right?
Yeah,
Because, it's like a lot of people are still, really concerned about going to events, and then it
right.
means travel for authors. But yeah, I am going to be on the East Coast in the month of July this summer. So I am working on putting some events together while I'm there because so many authors are based there.
Right.
So yeah, so live events are absolutely coming back. People are yearning for the
Yeah.
connection and to
Yeah.
see people and be in connection again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody's wanting it. It's
Hmm.
just deciding when the right
When,
time is. Yeah.
when, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see when that is because the date changes often. So we will see. So
exactly.
where on the East Coast will you be?
So my daughters will be going to summer camp in Maine, in
Oh,
Washington,
nice.
Maine.
Nice.
They have gone for years and they go to Camp Meadowlark. And Scott Weinstein is the director and amazing. And actually, my next show, the Julie Chan show next Wednesday, May 19th, is going to be all about the value of summer sleepaway camp.
Oh,
And I think
great.
many parents, well, not only because of COVID, but in general, especially on the West Coast, there's a fear and a concern about sending our kids away, whether it's 1 week or 4 weeks in my case, and a lot of apprehension from kids as well about being
Hmm.
away from home.
Hmm.
But I see complete value in it. It
Yeah.
teaches
Yeah.
independence and it teaches confidence. And it's just a chance to be in a completely different environment with
That's right.
different people and, realize that they can handle the
Right.
digs of potential rats. And I don't know what else they
Right.
see there, but whatever it is, like they are
Right.
going to be stronger for it.
They really
And
are. And
yeah,
well-rounded. They're going to be
yeah,
well-rounded. And they're also going to see that, that they can get through all of this COVID stuff and all of this stuff that
yeah.
we've been doing and that they're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine,
Exactly. Yes,
So I am
yes, yes, yes.
so, so grateful that we had this time and space together. I really am, Julie. And I want to follow you even more. I'm going to try to catch your show. I'm going to go on that YouTube channel and follow that as well. So I want you to please let me and my audience know exactly how we can support you, find you, follow you, all of that, please.
Thank you. I love that. So, my new website that you have seen, but we're still in a few revisions, is thejuliechanshow.com. My Instagram is The Julie Chan Show. My Facebook, The Julie Chan Show. And my YouTube channel, The Julie Chan Show. And again, it is all where passion meets purpose. And
I
on
love it.
Instagram, you can find all of our author interviews. On the YouTube channel, it is expanded and it goes beyond authors. We do have some authors from the past that we've interviewed
Mhm.
on the channel, but the channel is now dedicated to the half-hour show. It's live every Wednesday from
Oh,
10
good.
a.m. to 10:30 Pacific time. And I love for live viewers to be there and to make comments. When people do make comments or ask questions, I put them up so that the person I'm interviewing can see, and they're reading them aloud on the live show and answering them. So
That's
it's
awesome.
lots of fun. The website is a great opportunity to get coaching and to just really learn to go deep within
Yeah.
yourself before an interview. I recently interviewed or I recently coached somebody who was actually going to be on a few podcasts. And she was like, well, they gave me like 100 questions. How am I going to remember the answers to all of these? And I said, so you should throw the questions out. I
Yep.
do not give questions
Right.
on purpose because this is not a memorization session. This is a go into your heart and go into
That's
your
right.
experiences and tell us authentically
Yeah.
what has happened in your life to move you to write this book or do whatever it is that you do. And so I really coached her through that. And it was like,
That's so
none of
good.
that matters. Trust yourself and be confident. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's
go
so
to
good.
thejuliechanshow.com and you will find
Yes.
out everything I'm doing. I also have coming up next week, the beginning, I am partnering with an author and we are starting a sprint club, which means it's not running, unfortunately, so I won't be losing 20 pounds doing it, but I will be sprinting to write a book. So everyone can join, and it's
Oh,
for people who are already writers, people who are hoping to write a book one day. And the author, Monty Boyce, is going to be leading us through how to do sprints for writing.
that's amazing. Wow, that's exciting.
It's very
Okay, all right.
exciting.
So we all have to be watching because that sounds fun. I'm gonna really be tuned into that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you
Yes.
so much. It was so wonderful to be with you
Oh,
today.
I'm so
Thank you,
glad
thank
we did
you.
this. And I am really thankful for you being here. I really am. And I'm thankful for all of you guys as well. Thank you guys for being here and sharing this time with us. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, hit that little bell notification so you don't miss an episode. This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.